All right. Hello, my name is Gloria Mantooth, and I'm with the Unsung Heroes Living History Project. Today, we are honored to speak with, say your full name for us,
Chevelle Cromwell.
of the United States Air Force. She
Yes, of the
retired as
United
a,
States yes.
yes, she
Retired as a
retired.
tech sergeant.
All right. After 20,
3 years and 6 months.
beautiful, beautiful. This project preserves the stories of local African American veterans whose service and lives helped to shape their families and our community. Before we begin, I'd like to confirm that you have the release and will be signing it, giving Unsung Heroes Living History Project, a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization, permission to record and use this interview as outlined in the release. Do I have
Yes,
your
ma'am.
permission to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. So let's start with your early life. Please tell us about yourself and your life before the military.
I was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Born to my mom is Elise Thomas. Have one well, I actually have two sisters, but one sister we grew up together. My youngest sister, who's 10 years younger, she had a different mother, so we didn't grow up together. Growing up, yeah, I was with my cousins, around my grandmother a lot. She pretty much raised us because my mom had to work. Um, Let me see. Yeah, in my mind, it was easy. It was simple. We were poor, but didn't realize you were poor. My mother used to always say we're working. She was working class poor. Just went to school, loved cheerleading, loved dancing. That was probably one of the bigger things. Roller skating, and when I got to high school, I worked during the summers. And then when I got to high school, the recruiter came around and he um, just was talking about the Air Force. I really didn't have any plans. um, what am I going to do? Because about that time, when I went to high school, you had two paths. You could go college prep or you can go business. So I decided to go the business route. So I thought after I got out of high school, I was going to be either a receptionist or a secretary, because that's where I went to high school. Those are the classes I took to set me up for that. But the recruiter came, it sounded really good. I took the ASVAB, and that's really how it started.
All right. How did your family react when you decided to enlist?
My mom, she has always been a great supporter. So I actually was in delayed enlistment. So I signed up before I actually graduated. I was on the delayed enlistment program for 9 months. So she would have had to sign for that because I wasn't yet 18. But when I actually enlisted, I was 18. But she was, she didn't give me any pushback that I can remember. I think she was happy for me that I made a decision to do something, because back in those days, 18 was coming and you had to do something. So I think everybody was pretty supportive.
So, what motivated you to join the military?
It was just actually some of my other friends, we all took the ASVAB together. And I think it was the recruiter and the way he sold it. You can have a career, you can learn a skill, a trade. And then after, if you decided not to stay for the entire time, when you got out, it was a good transition. Whatever you learned in the military, you could easily transition into the civilian sector. So it was just a way to have a career. I think that's what motivated me.
Can you describe your first days in boot camp?
Ooh, just being nervous and scared because you didn't know what to expect. First plane trip was leaving New Jersey, going to San Antonio, Texas, and then you get off the plane and they pick you up and you get there and they immediately start telling you what to do. Now, I didn't have a problem with taking direction because my mom was very, clear about what needed to be done. So that wasn't the issue, but I think the issue for me was just not knowing what to expect. And they're giving you so much information at the time, and you had to remember things. But yeah, it was good. I don't remember having a really hard time because you're young, you could still run, you could do the exercise. So, but everything was very rushed. Yeah.
What was the biggest adjustment for you?
Ooh, let me see. Probably, that is a good question. Oh, yes, I know what it was. When we had to take a shower, you had to take an open shower, and everybody was just in there. And keep in mind, you didn't really have time to think about it because everything was so rushed. You had to take a shower, get dressed, and be ready for the next thing. But probably that, because until then, everything was a little private, but you're in the shower. I can't remember how many shower heads there were, but yeah, probably that was, yeah, that was like, oh my God, and you're a little shy, you're a little embarrassed. Yeah.
What was your military occupation or specialty? Did you choose it or was it chosen for you?
It was chosen for me. I actually came in open general. That wasn't the original plan, but my original job was supposed to be a Morse code operator because I scored higher in the admin section. But my recruiter said, "Well, just wait till you get down." Now that's the only thing. I think he kind of duped me on that. Just wait till you get down to basic training. They're going to have other jobs available. So I wound up being, at the time, a law enforcement specialist. So basically, military police.
Where were you stationed and what stands out most about those places?
My first duty assignment was Okinawa, Japan. Um, what stood out about that was the fact that I got an opportunity to work with all the services. So there was Army, big Marine Corps presence in Okinawa, Navy, and then, of course, the Air Force. Probably what stood out the most to me there just was Japan itself, and the kindness of the people. I mean, they were so kind. And I just remember because I actually worked with some of the Japanese guards on the gate. And I just remember their kindness and just how can I say, they just have a way, just the way they do things. They're very traditional. And once you're a friend, you're just a friend for life. Yeah, that stood out about that. Well, and also what stood out, it was my first base. It was a huge base, a really, really large base. And just kind of learning the rules of the military. Yeah, just trying to figure it all out.
Any other places you toured?
Yes. So my second base, I had 9 different duty stations. My second base was I went to England. Chicksands Air Base in England. It's closed down. Loved England. The job, it was a smaller base. We only had 2 gates. But probably what the common thread, and I'll talk about all the bases, but the common thread was the people that you meet, because all the people that you meet we're all going through the same situation. We're away from home, we're young, we're figuring it out, and you go through all of these things together, but you make some lasting friendships, people who I still talk to today. England stood out, the weather, the language, the food, and Japan as well. The whole monarchy thing, the royal family, I just loved all that type of stuff. Then I left there and went to March Air Force Base in Southern California. March was nice. The people who I met, the job, being military police, it was a lot of, we spent a lot because our days were long. Sometimes we're in 12-hour shifts. So you get a lot of time to talk to people, to understand them, to keep them uplifted. Um, so March was nice. In California, my first time to California, Southern California. So that was nice. I just remember the base being pretty, and yeah, and we had wait a minute, let me see. Yeah, we had aircraft in Kadena, but we had our mission there was refueling mission. So that was pretty exciting. Then I left there and went back to England, to Bentwaters Air Base in England. So I was just, I had such a good time the first time. I wanted to go back. Again, a little bit older, so I could move a little bit differently. I'm not as young. I could help the younger folks that I would encounter, maybe supervise and just say, okay, this is how you can set yourself up for success, if you will. But met a lot of good friends there. Um, and we had those two bases. Actually, it was Bentwaters and oh God, what was the other name? It was two bases actually, and they were sister bases. But that was a good assignment too. Just a lot of long hours there as well. I left there and went to Anazuka Air Station, back to California, and that's in the Bay Area in Sunnyvale. That base is no longer existing. Actually, their mission is down here at Vandenberg. Went there, met some really good people. My common theme is people. The job is always going to be the job,
Mhm.
but the people who I met, the difference between the job that I did there that was different from other places, I was what it was called a quality assurance evaluator. So what I actually did was evaluate it because we had contract jobs doing contractors, shall I say, doing the job that the military would do. And so I was evaluating them, and I love that. So I love that because it was more like a corporate job, if you will, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So that was great, and I had a great second job there. Then I left there and went to Ellsworth Air Base in South Dakota. And surprisingly, so South Dakota, I went from the Bay Area to South Dakota, but it was a blessing in that too, because it allowed me to slow down
Mm.
and really embrace that part of the world. You had Mount Rushmore, you had Crazy Horse, the snow was crazy, but that was a blessing too. Because I've always tell people, it's not about where you're at that defines your experience. It's about you and how you embrace where you're at. It may not, it's different from maybe where you grew up and maybe your last space, but as long as you embrace it and you just make it what you want it to be. I left Ellsworth and I went to Osan Air Base in Korea. Korean, yeah, I had a great time there. High ops tempo. Um, love the Korean culture, the Korean people. Um, I was one of the type of people who I'm not going to complain about what's going on base because I'm out in the community. I'm eating the food, I'm meeting the people, I'm letting them do my hair. I'm trying to enjoy the experience. So I left Osan Air Base, Korea, and I went to Getty Air Base in Italy. That was probably my favorite assignment. Italy was fantastic. Can't say enough about the food, the wine, the people, the clothes, the shoes, the purses. The job, like I said, the job is the job, but it's about where you're at, and just enjoying and embracing that moment while you're there. Then I left there and came here to Vandenberg, and this is where I ended my career, and this is where I've been ever since. So traveled a lot, seen a lot, met a lot of great people.
What did a typical day in uniform look like for you?
Oh, you get up about an hour before you. So get up, get dressed, get to the clearing barrel, get your weapon. Um, have we call it our guard mount. Where everybody gets it. You get your assignments, and then you post out. And then wherever you were assigned that day, that was your duty for the day, whether it be working the gate, whether it be working patrolling, whether it be working on the flight line, monitoring alarms, working as a desk sergeant. Um, and then that was typically, we stayed in 12-hour shifts a lot. And most the time, because Manning was always tight, and you work your shift, relieve people if they needed to go to the restroom, appointments, etc. Turn your weapon in, and then you go home.
Who was someone you served with that you remember the most?
Ooh, one probably my first flight chief. We called him Daddy G. His name was Master Sergeant Gillinger. Um, and I'm glad at the time he was terrifying. 18 years old over there, like, oh my God, who is this guy? But it was good to have a person who was so strict, if you will, because he kept you on your toes.
You want to,
Hold on.
do you want to
Ho-
take a
ho-
break?
yeah, hold on one second. Somebody's
How did you stay connected with family back home?
with letters, oh gosh, getting those letters when I first um joined, like back at Cadena and in England, they used to be, yeah, I cried because you missed home. But I stayed connected because, we didn't have internet back then, but just with letters and phone calls occasionally with those phone cards that you would buy so you wouldn't run up no bills and don't call home collect. But yeah, basically just with letters.
Did you experience challenges related to race during your service?
I did not. No, I did not. I can't recall any incident because as I was looking at the questionnaire, I really thought about that. And I personally did not, you know, um, and I'm thankful for that. I don't remember one time where, I felt like, oh, I didn't get that because I'm black or, or I'm a woman. So no, I can honestly say I did not.
Did the military provide a sense of unity or sisterhood or brotherhood that felt different from civilian life at the time?
It really did. Like I was saying, no matter where you are, you're with people, you are all in the same situation. You're away from home. You're away from it. At times, it could be your wife and your children, your family, and you're just trying to get through it and just keep each other uplifted. And probably that's the biggest takeaway, the camaraderie that you gain through all the people you meet, and the paths that cross in the military.
So coming home and the reflection on that, what was the transition like when you returned to civilian life?
Because I transitioned here from Vandenberg, it was seamless because basically I got a job in the unit that I retired from. And I worked with them under that unit for a year. So I was just like I was hanging up my uniform and just wearing a different set of clothing and doing a different job, although I wasn't carrying a weapon anymore, but I still worked in the security field. So it was pretty. I retired, was off for about 2 months, and went back to work and right back at Vandenberg. So it was pretty seamless for me. And my chief draper, actually, he gave me an opportunity that I appreciated because the thing for me was when you've spent that long in the military, you kind of want to keep that same lifestyle, if you will. You get paid twice a month, the benefits are good. And, realizing as you get older, oh, those benefits are very important, particularly medical.
How do you think the military service changed you as a person?
Wow, it changed me in so many ways. It grew me up. I was a baby. I was 18. Left it. I was 18 when I went in and retired at 42, 43. Um, Structure, discipline, um, integrity. Not saying I didn't have those things, but they were heightened being in the military, a sense of responsibility, a sense of serving your country, and really understanding the fact that freedom isn't free. If we weren't out here doing what we were doing, you know, um, how that would affect the world populace or the United States, really. And then all the different places that I went, how our presence was really welcomed. Sometimes, most times welcome. Some people embraced us. You always had those few that may not have, but just understanding the bigger picture. But it helped shape me in many ways. And I'm grateful for it. Yeah.
What are you most proud of from your time in the military?
I think I'm most proud of sticking to it because at times you get something may happen or you're somewhere where you didn't want to be or you're going through something like, oh, but after these 4 years, I'm out of here. I'm going to separate and then I'm going to get a civilian job, maybe go back home. But I'm proud of myself for sticking to it for 23 years because I'm not going to say it was a piece of cake the whole way through. Moving so much and having to pack up and experiencing different things, not horrible, but being away from home, missing so much at home with my nieces and nephews growing up. Um, but yeah, I just appreciate my time in the service. I really do.
What advice would you give to a young family member considering military service today?
I would tell them to go to school, get your degree, probably come in commission, be an officer. If they didn't want to do that, I would highly suggest that they come on base, visit a military base, get in contact with someone who's working in the field that they may want to go into and shadow that person to get a real good understanding of what it is you're going to be doing. What is life like? Basic training is basic training, technical school is technical school, but after you get it, what is your day-to-day life going to look like? Um, I would tell them to don't come in open general, have a guaranteed job when you come in. So you know that this is a job I'm going to be doing, and pick a job that's going to be easily transferable when you get out of the military, that it'll be seamless. Because what I've learned too, after retiring, people respect people who have served in the military, and there's a lot of, opportunity there. They look at that and, oh, you served in the military. If nothing else, they know, listen, this person's going to show up. They're reliable. They're responsible. Most times, if you could stick it out this long, you probably have these certain traits. So that's what I would tell them, and save money.
How would you
Invest.
like your service to be remembered by future generations?
I would say, let me see. I would just say I would like it to be remembered as someone who didn't know what she was getting into when she was getting into it. All she knew is that the recruiter came to her school, she took that ASVAB and she passed it. But the things that she gained, that I gained throughout that military career, just were they were something that I'm not saying I couldn't have gained those things if I was stayed in the civilian sector, but they were things that shaped me, molded me into the woman that I am today. That type of thing that says, you know what, I get up early, I get it done. If something happens, I make adjustments as needed. And I like to think that um, it shaped, or as far as having it, how I would like it to be remembered, just as it's a good option if you really want to get your life started, get some footing about yourself, learn a skill, and hopefully meet some great people and travel to some great places.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close?
Just to say thank you for this opportunity. I think this is great. And I thank Miss Yasmin for even bringing it to me. You know, the military is a great option for someone who is on the fence about what they are wanting to do with their lives. It can be tough, and you're going to need to have some self-discipline because it's going to teach you discipline. But you're going to need to bring certain things already with you, at least a little bit, and just kind of fine tune those things once you're here. But make it the best experience that you can make it. Definitely, it will make your family proud. They may miss you, but I can't even express the times I'd go home and my mother would be like, "Oh, this is my baby. She's in the military." I'd be so, you know what I mean? I would be like, "Oh, mom, no, don't say that." But she was so proud. She was so proud that I did that, and so I would just encourage anybody to think about it, talk to someone, research, you know, and if it's for you, take that step, take that leap.
Well, Miss Chevelle Latrice Cromwell, thank you so much
You're welcome.
today for sharing your story. Your service and experiences are an important part of our community's history, and we are honored to help preserve them for future generations.
Thank you, ma'am.